Welcome back to another episode of Black Health. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Kirwan Bythwood, board certified pediatrician and chief medical officer. And as I always tell you, your wellness is not optional, it is generational. And today we're talking about a disease that, while it affects the individual in particular, it does have a profound effect on the family members of that individual. And that disease is Alzheimer's. This is such an important topic to talk about. And for those of you who have family members with other forms of dementia, I still want you to tune in because we're going to give you some valuable information and valuable resources. And to do that, we have Mr. Keith Gibson joining the show today. Keith Gibson is the Florida Senior Director of Community Engagement and Research Champion for the Alzheimer's Association. Keith, welcome to the show. So thankful to have you on today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about what you do as the Director of Community Engagement.
Well, I'm responsible. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's truly an honor and a privilege and pleasure. I'm responsible for overseeing all aspects of community outreach for the Alzheimer's Association for the state of Florida, with the focus being on awareness and connection, meaning that all communities have an opportunity for early diagnosis and access to risk reduction and quality care.
Awesome. So
And as
sorry, go ahead.
And as a research champion, which is one of my other roles here, is to speak about dementia science and all that the Alzheimer's Association is doing globally in the research space.
Okay. So I know, Keith, you're not a physician, but I know you've been in this space of Alzheimer's for a period of time, a good period of time. So I wanted to just talk a little bit, so for those that are listening, to understand a little bit about what Alzheimer's disease is. So what is it, and how does it differ from other forms of dementia? How common is it?
Well, let's talk about, that's a good question because, there is a difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. Dementia and Alzheimer's are often used as though they mean the same, but they don't. They are related, but it's important to know the difference between the two. Dementia is a broad umbrella term for an individual's changes in their memory, thinking, or reasoning, and there are many causes of dementia, including Alzheimer's. Dementia is a syndrome, or that collection of symptoms. It is where the person experiences changes. Okay. So we always say it's what the person experiences, not what causes the experience. And when we talk about dementia, it means that the person's cognition has declined to the point that it interferes with the activities of daily living. So Alzheimer's is actually a disease, and it's the biological cause of dementia. And Alzheimer's is that type of dementia that causes problems with the memory, thinking, and behavior.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So how common is it? And what are some of the risk factors for Alzheimer's?
Okay, so there are two questions rolled up into one, so I'll break it down for you. So Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia. It makes up 60 to 80% of all dementia cases. This includes 11% of those age 65 and older, and 1/3 of those that are 85 and older. I have to point out that Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. It is a progressive brain disease, meaning it gets worse over time. Now, in terms of what are the risk factors, there are, I always like to put the risk factors into two categories: modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. So the modifiable risk factors are those that we can actually change. The non-modifiable risk factors are those that we don't have any control over. So when we talk about the non-modifiable risk factors, they would include age, family history, genetics, race, and ethnicity. But when we talk about the modifiable risk factors, that could be environment, that could be the social economic status of an individual, which we commonly refer to as social determinants of health.
And you mentioned race, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
Is Alzheimer's more prevalent in the Black race?
A- Absolutely. Statistics show that African Americans are 2 times likely to have this disease than older white Americans, and Hispanics are 1.5 times likely to have this disease. Um, Women are also part of this, you know, group that's at a higher risk. Almost 2/3 of Americans that are diagnosed are women, and 60% of our caregivers of individuals with Alzheimer's are also women.
Hmm. So you mentioned Black race, 2 times more likely. We as Black people are also more likely to have diabetes and hypertension. Do those two things play into Alzheimer's?
Yes, they do. Hypertension and diabetes are two. Let me go back to hypertension, and I'm also going to add heart disease, because
Mhm.
when we talk about the different types of dementia, they fall up in the category of vascular dementia. So vascular dementia would be those that, persons that have a stroke history, or heart history, and high blood pressure, as well as diabetes, and these all can negatively impact the cognitive health. It's very, very important that people understand that Alzheimer's does not happen all by itself. What usually triggers it is that there could be a pre-existing condition that is not being properly managed. If that pre-existing condition is not properly managed, then what happens is it could lead to what we call cognitive impairment. Okay. And then if that cognitive impairment is not properly managed, then it leads to cognitive decline. Now, what do I mean by cognitive impairment? That means that the individual is still able to self-care for themselves, performing all the activities of daily living. But when it comes to another set of what we call activities of daily living, which we refer to instrumental activities of daily living, that include activities such as housekeeping, preparing meals, shopping, managing your medications, managing your finances, driving, and even talking on the telephone. It's usually when you're starting to see challenges in those activities. That's where you really want to start looking at getting yourself evaluated to see what is going on with your brain cognitively.
So, what are some of the early warning signs? Because I have a family member with dementia, not Alzheimer's, and we sort of missed the early signs until we saw that there were some obvious things being forgotten. And what I thought was just depression, a withdrawal from people talking on the phone, engaging as much. I
Mhm.
thought that was just depression until the day I got the phone call that said she didn't remember this. And I was
Mhm.
like, huh? And then it all came, tumbling. It just came clear. I was like, oh my goodness, everything that we've been seeing, it's dementia. It's some
Yeah,
form of dementia. So what can people be looking out for besides something like that, withdrawal?
that's
And
a great.
actually, Keith, I'm
That's
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna actually ask you to hold on to that thought real quick because we do need to take a quick commercial break. You are watching
absolutely.
Black Health. We are talking about the ever so important topic of Alzheimer's. If you have a family member with Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, please tune in today. We have valuable information. We are talking with Keith Gibson from the Alzheimer's Association. We will be right back.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. Two powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. Get your crew. You don't want to miss this. Lock in your seats now at orangeblossomclassic.com.
Miami-Dade is filled with dreams, talent, love. At the Children's Trust, we are dedicated to nurturing the potential of every child and family with hundreds of trust-funded programs. Find a program at thechildrenstrust.org.
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman & Dover Law Firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family, our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters. Because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. The Mesman & Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
Get ready to groove at this year's Juneteenth Juke Joint on June 7th at 7:30 p.m. Enjoy live music by the W's, beats by DJ Cardi, visual art, and more. Get your tickets now at archcenter.org.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
The city is part of the celebration.
Welcome back. You're watching Black Health. We are with Keith Gibson of the Alzheimer's Association, and we are talking about Alzheimer's. So, Keith, you were just about to answer my question about some of the early warning signs that family members can look out for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dr. Michelle. The Alzheimer's Association, being a leader in this area, we developed a list of 10 warning signs to help people understand the difference between normal aging and the common signs of possible dementia. Now, with this list, it's not intended to help identify the unusual. It's intended to help identify the unusual changes that a person's experiencing with their memory, thinking, and behavior. So, but we always recommend that if you see issues in these areas, that you definitely would want to visit your physician and discuss these issues. So, one of the most common 10 warning signs would be the memory loss that's so severe that disrupts your daily life, such as forgetting recently learned information. Another common sign would be confusion with time or place, like a person living with dementia may sometimes forget where they are and how they got there. Misplacing things and losing their ability to retrace their steps. I mean, this is very common. Most people will misplace things now and then, but someone that's living with Alzheimer's, they may put their keys in unusual places, and even after finding them, they have no idea how they got there, like placing their keys in the refrigerator. Those are the types of things. And one of the things I like to point out is the fact that Alzheimer's is a biological disease that affects the brain, but it's important to understand that an individual does not lose their intellect. And what do I mean by that? If a person knows that there's something going on with them, they will withdraw from their work or social activities, even hobbies that they used to do to bring them joy. And this is one of the things that you may want to look at as a warning sign, because again, they know that there's something going on with them, but they don't know what it is. And then also too, there could be another common warning sign will be changes in their mood and personality. A person may become easily upset when out of their comfort zone. So these are things that you want to pay attention to.
And even a little paranoid. You sometimes see.
Yeah, that is true. That's one of those what we call emotional triggers. Okay, because they're like, oh my God, I know something is going on with me. I don't know what it is. And that's where that intellectual processing will kick in.
And I think fear in that person also
Absolutely.
prevents them from saying something,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not remembering, or I'm worried about this. So I think that's why you see the withdrawal, the depression, and all the little fidgety things, maybe chewing on the fingers or picking at the fingers, or the little fidgety movements that are probably anxiety.
Absolutely. Those
Yeah,
are all those areas that we look at that are tied into our emotional condition and emotional health or
and that's why I
mental.
wanted to highlight, what families can look for as well, because the person themselves may withdraw. And the earlier you get to, figuring out what is causing this and treating it, the better outcomes, or at least delaying the progression.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so important that we need to really prioritize our brain health because, if your brain is not working properly, it's going to affect everything else that's going on in your body. And, your brain as well as your heart are two of the most vital organs in the body. But we've got to really pay attention to the importance of your brain, your overall health, and particularly prioritizing your brain health.
Keith, I want to talk a good bit about what the Alzheimer's Association offers, because there's some really great resources there. But I like what you just mentioned there. And I just want to ask, what are some ways that a person can prioritize or care for their brain health? A younger individual, maybe they have a family member who has Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. They have a concern, and there is genetic testing to see if there is a genetic risk. But what are some things that they can do to protect their brain health?
Well, that's a great question, and yes, you can see I'm smiling because I'm super excited, and I'm going to put on my research cap if I may.
You may go right ahead.
We are super excited that this year at our International Research Conference, which will be held in Toronto later on in July, we are going to be revealing the results of a study called the U.S. Pointer Study. The U.S. Pointer Study is a study that involves lifestyle interventions, and this study is the first of its kind that's been conducted in the United States. However, the U.S. Pointer Studies is actually mimicking a European study called the Finger Study, which is based on lifestyle interventions. And when we talk about lifestyle interventions, we're talking about 7 categories. We're talking about physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, cognitive activity, social engagement, getting quality sleep, being smoke free, and maintaining mental wellness. So those are things that we can definitely do to help reduce our risk for developing dementia.
And socializing. I don't know if you said socializing.
Yes, I did. Socialization.
Okay.
Yeah. That's important because it has a very intrinsic value. Because when you're socializing, your brain is functioning, you're interacting. So these lifestyle interventions are so important. And that, I get that question all the time. Well, what can I do? I said, well, think of your loved one as a precious treasure, okay? And you want to make sure that you are taking good care of that treasure. And how can you do that? Physical health and exercise, doing something that's going to stimulate the brain by causing a sweat, okay? Because there's a connection between the heart and the brain, because the heart is vital to pump blood to the brain so it continues to operate at its peak function. So, recommending anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes a day where you're breaking a sweat. And diet and nutrition, again, in our communities, in the Black community, we have grew up on Big Mama's home cooking, that fried chicken, the collard greens, the macaroni and cheese. All of those things are comfort food, but we now have to readjust, and we have to eat more healthy, like involving eating greens and vegetables and refraining from a lot of processed foods.
Thank you for that, Keith. That's very important, especially for our community. I'm glad you pointed that
Absolutely,
out. And
absolutely.
hydration is a big one
Hydration,
as well.
exactly,
We
exactly.
changed the game with my family member with just hydrating. She completely re-engaged, still has dementia, but has really re-engaged in life. We do need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we are going to talk about some of the resources that the Alzheimer's Association has. So please don't go anywhere. We are with Keith Gibson. We will be right back.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. Two powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. Get your crew. You don't want to miss this. Lock in your seats now at orangeblossomclassic.com.
Miami-Dade is filled with dreams, talent, love. At the Children's Trust, we are dedicated to nurturing the potential of every child and family with hundreds of trust-funded programs. Find a program at thechildrenstrust.org.
Get ready to groove at this year's Juneteenth Juke Joint on June 7th at 7:30 p.m. Enjoy live music by the W's, beats by DJ Cardi, visual art, and more. Get your tickets now at arshcenter.org.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
The city of vibration.
Welcome back. You are watching Black Health, and we're having such a wonderful conversation about Alzheimer's, such an informative conversation with Keith Gibson. Keith, we only have a few minutes left. I really want you to dive into all the resources that you can talk about in the next few minutes that the Alzheimer's Association offers, and please make sure to include caregiver support, because that's a big one.
Absolutely. A lot of folks don't realize that the Alzheimer's Association is there for the family, because no matter where the individual are in their journey, they don't have to go through this by themselves. And we, through a number of ways, offer help to the individual and the community. And the biggest help is through our 1-800 number, which is our 24/7 helpline. That's 1-800-272-3900. This is a free service that we have specialists and master level clinicians that offer confidential support and information to people that are living with dementia, caregivers, families, and public, than to the public at large. In terms of caregivers, one of the things that I tell folks, as being a caregiver myself, we're going to become a student of the disease, whether we choose to or not. So it's really up to us in terms of what type of student we're going to become. We can be a good student, we can be a bad student. The bad student is the one that doesn't access these resources, or they're in denial. The good student is they're going to learn as much as they possibly can, and that's where we are supporting the caregiver as well as the individual with educational programs that are anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. We also have caregiver support groups, which are so important because, again, you got to talk about it. It's okay to say, hey, listen, I'm dealing with these challenges with other caregivers. And what I find that through the caregiver support groups, these members become that extended family, and that helps out the individual. We also offer a lot of virtual programming as well as on-demand programming, where an individual can really pick up information and learn various tips and tools. And I am super excited about a new service that launched in January of this year called Dementia Care Navigation Services, whereas that an individual, even if they don't have a diagnosis yet, but they suspect that there's something that's going on, they will be able to reach out to our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-272-3900, and they will be able to get, a preliminary assessment, and this will get them into the system, or to, as I call it, the pathway for services. Because a lot of times when the individual doesn't know where to go, but calling our 1-800 number is the best place to start off at, and like I said, this is an 8-year pilot project that the Alzheimer's Association has embarked on with the CMS, which is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And we're hoping that, that this will be a very, very positive project where we will be able to get more funding, because this disease, I have to admit, it has a very high price tag and is a very extreme financial burden. But there are resources out there that the family can plug into, such as you can actually reach out to the Department of Elder Affairs and look for financial assistance to help with being a caregiver. So we realize that our caregivers are a vital part of this journey, and we have to take care of our caregivers.
Thank you so much for that, Keith. That is excellent information. I think when a family member, or when the family realizes that their loved one has dementia, the initial reaction is obviously sadness but I think fear. And I think people tend to freeze and not know what to do. And I think it may take sometimes a bit of time to mobilize and get going to help your loved one, because I think people just freeze. They become paralyzed with the fear.
That is true.
So the Alzheimer's Association is there. They have a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information and resources for you. So please reach out to them. Give us that number one more time, Keith.
It's 1-800-272-3900.
Excellent. Keith, thank you so much for joining the show today. It has been a pleasure having you on Black Health. To our audience watching, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Black Health. We will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.